because of this moronic comment. I was like, oh, I forgot that they made a movie called Shang-Chi. I completely forgot. That was so many movies ago, right? And there's even that little button scene at the end with him and Aquafina's character talking to Captain Marvel and Bruce Banner. And what was the point of that? Are we going to see that payoff in the Marvels? I don't know. I don't really care. I mean, but it's just this is where we're at. We're stuck with it. And, there may be some highlights here and there. I think Guardians 3 should be pretty good, although that poster really got me worried with Karen Gillan. Basically, looks like
we actually let's get into that, because we have a question here. Callum Lyle, he wonders for $2 is Nebula trans in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 now?
I mean, she's
Mr. Gore, what is up with that poster?
Well, it's possible that her head gets put on a different body. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time that happened in science fiction or fantasy. That's happened. One of my favorite movies, the head that wouldn't die, or the brain that wouldn't die. By the way, they recently did a remake of that movie. Some indie filmmakers remade that film in that style, that sort of 1950s cheesy acting and whatnot. It's actually pretty good. But I love that film. So something could, and then maybe, is he making a comment? Maybe. Is he not? Maybe. But yeah, she looks like a dude. The body.
This may be more someone in the marketing department.
I was going to say, I'm not even sure James Gunn has anything to do with this. And there's another thing that sticks out to me too, is that is not, there's no way that's Chris Pratt's body. He is much more built than that. So I'm wondering if this is a case of, now you might be one of the few people who actually knows what I'm referring to when I say this.
This is Groot's body either.
It is definitely not Groot's body.
I think it's a complete fake.
No, because that's Elm and he's Oak. No, but Chris, you might remember the whole Pretty Woman controversy on the poster. If anybody in a panel does, it'd have to be you besides me. Okay, well, you don't. Well, that was when everybody realized that was definitely not Julia Roberts on the poster of Pretty Woman, the famous poster.
Right. Okay, yeah.
And they found out it was, because it was a body double, and they just put her head and his head on two completely different people. So maybe it's a case.
Richard Gere's body either?
Nope.
Because he was in a suit.
Nope, it's not Richard Gere either. It's two completely different people. I actually showed the image of the original image.
That happens all the time in posters and marketing materials. It happens all the time. So it's fairly common, but it's just so blatant that it's a wimpier version of Peter Quill and a more manly version of Nebula's body, especially in light of, like, if you just put photos of her character side by side with that picture, it's embarrassing. It's just another not so secret hidden agenda.
I think he's just a bad artist.
Well, I mean, an artist, that's a photo shoot. I mean, look, if you're going to put the head on a woman, maybe hire a woman. So,
maybe they thought Nebula that it was a guy because it didn't have hair.
Those are
I think that this is someone.
The heads are all drawn
in the marketing department that basically has gone rogue, because you are right, Chris, in that it's a photo shoot, but it's not a photo shoot in that everyone is in the room together. On the contrary, like the way that these posters are made is that you do in the individual stills with all the actors, and they don't have to do their shoots at the same day, and then they're put together in Photoshop, which is why you have like the same basic pictures recurring in multiple posters with slightly different stances and stuff like that. Everyone who wants some fun, go and check like the movie posters with a team like this over the last few years. Like, for instance, check out the original Avengers poster. That's a good example. Just look at all the different constellations that came in with the different characters in different places at the poster. I really liked what they did with the Hulk in that original Avengers poster, where they put him meant that he had to kind of be like Godzilla size to have like that scale. But anyway, so here it was a photo shoot, but obviously the actors were never together. And if someone in marketing decided to go rogue and put in a little bit of the not so secret agenda, because the marketing department at Disney reportedly is full of people like that, I wouldn't be surprised that this is something that James Gunn never saw or even signed off on. He might be furious at it.
It depends. People like Christopher Nolan are very involved in the marketing when it comes to the trailer and what you're allowed to use and the poster. I think it just depends on the director. I would expect that James Gunn would probably at least get run by him, but that's also, it's not someone rogue, because a rogue person in a corporation, it's enabled by a lot of different people, because there are way too many sign-offs that have to happen for one rogue person to have an influence. It's definitely just a group of people that are letting it by. I think it just may end up being a plot thing in the movie. It may end up being that Nebula, her head is put on a dude's body. I mean, it looks like Sean Gunn.
Oh, in that case, you can kiss.
You know, it's funny you say that, Chris, because that's exactly the first thought I had. Is I'm like, it's like they put it on Sean Gunn's body.
Yeah, it could be Sean Gunn.
It's weird.
Like a head swap from like Mars Attacks.
I mean,
well, I'm not sure if it's in the movie proper, but I'm like on the day when they needed the poses, like they just had Sean sit in
everybody, and then
yeah, no, I'm not kidding either. Like totally, and like I think Chris might be right, and then whoever did the airbrushing paint, because Paul is right too. They did do some manipulation with it, but these are actual photos that have been made to look like they've been painted. They're actually real photos. You can tell. But I wonder if then at that point they just didn't manipulate her like they should have to make it look like a female instead. Because other than Chris not being as swole as he's supposed to, I mean, really, the rest of it is fine, I guess, for the most part.
I think everyone's spending too much time on this poster.
I
well,
think I'm not disagreeing with that.
Talking, then mission accomplished.
Yeah, exactly.
Look,
but,
subliminal imagery in marketing is like that's a staple, dude. Like, there's so much stuff that you could, once you become aware of that stuff. That's why that Marvel's poster with Captain Marvel and Photon and Ms. Marvel is.
See if you can bring that up. The Ms. Marvel.
It is. That one is clearly...
Somebody drew lines on it. It's right there in front of you. And
let me
what's
see
so
if I can
funny
get
is,
that specific one. Yeah.
I don't want to say who, but I was in a group chat of people, and none of the women in the group chat recognized what it was. And it's normally because that's a view that they don't normally see.
Well,
does that make sense?
This is true. It's like us guys, we are the ones who actually do get that view.
We get that view,
I'm not
so
gonna,
it's like obvious. So, but I feel like it's very, I mean, look, my prediction, Captain Marvel comes out as gay in that movie. That's what's going to happen.
This is what you're talking about, right?
Yep.
No, there's a different one.
There's
It's
more
literally
subtler
this
one.
line.
Okay, well, there's a few different ones.
There's a more of a subtle one. That's like, yeah, it's way more subtle if you just draw the lines. It's in Gary from Nerdrotic's feed.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
But yeah, check that one out, because it's more interesting, because it just, all it is a couple lines, and when you just draw a couple lines, it's like right there, very obvious. But no, my prediction, I'm saying it now, I may not be the first. Captain Marvel comes out as gay in the film, had a relationship with Photon's mom, because I feel like that's kind of where that was leading.
So if you break down a photon, you get a pi meson and a muon.
Yeah, and also, hasn't Kevin Feige already said that we're going to have a gay character? It's like, it was always Captain Marvel. I mean, like, to me, it's kind of obvious. So I actually don't care or have a problem with it either. It's just like, oh, okay, cool. You know, I mean, I never was super enamored by that character anyways. So it always seems like that's where she leaned. So why not just fully go for it? You know? Yeah.
Well, there's that one too, but all the girls in the Toxic Femme are pointing out how it's basically shaped like a vagina either way. So yeah, like,
well,
it's like you don't need the lines to point to it, but it's interesting that Brie is the butthole.
Yes.
Brie is the butthole of the team.
In this case, yes, she is. In the other one, she would have been the hole of stuff.
Yeah, depends a little bit on exactly where you place the drawing, but I will say I do prefer this to like the all-seeing eye that we have, or like the eye of Horus that we have gotten subliminally in most of the, or actually pretty much all the Marvel posters since the original Captain Marvel. This is a huge step in a better direction, you ask me. And for those that haven't seen it, just do yourself a favor, go back to the older Marvel posters and look for the all-seeing eye. It's there, staring right.
Now it's all about the JJ. But let's get into some of these super chats before we get into the Roald Dahl news. Before we lose.